we left off with me just about to do a pour. But before we get to that pour, I just want to point out that it was an atrociously bad pour. One thing or another, I just messed up really. I had quite a large crucible going on. I'd already done a couple of pours. Basically just messed it up. Poured straight down the sprue rather than into the well of the pouring basin. It was just a very bad pour, but I thought I'd leave it in here because there's been a comment in a couple of other YouTubers at the moment, and they're talking about proper casting, and I thought I'd demonstrate a poor one to make out that I never make mistakes. It's a total lie. As you can see on this video, it's a demonstration of lots of them. But either this is not an example of a good pour for sure. Well, what came out after what wasn't the most cleanest of pours, to be fair. I messed up a little bit on the beginning of that. But it's come out pretty good, I think. I'm hoping that the gates and everything will be okay. The top parts of the cores have snapped off, so I'll have to keep an eye out for them in the sand. Bottom bits nice and crumbly. So what I'm going to do is get this cut off, and we'll have a look at these. So I've just come back from cleaning these out and cutting them off, and so far very pleased. So the next step I'm going to be doing is linishing these with a very fine paper, just to make sure there's no porosity in them. Like these being the gates, obviously that's where it's most likely to happen, so that's my next step. I'm not going to film you doing that, but so I'll bring you back when these are nice polished up. Right, I've linished these up, and everything's looking pretty good. No signs of any shrinkage, inclusions. So what I'll do is I'll bring you in for a closer look. Trying to get you without too much of a glare. There we are. As you can see, cleaned up really nicely. The other one's got a larger gate area still attached. So I'm very pleased with that after the last problems I've had. So now I'm just going to give them a quick tickle up. So I've given them a quick linish up, taken off the rough edges. But see, I don't really want to grind them up so much that they don't look like cast parts, which is the whole point of having them cast. Sadly, you do get some ribbing from the 3D print stuff. That is something I'm definitely working on. But they've got to be machined anyway, surfaced, and the holes drilled in for the mountings. That's those two manifolds done, and quite a learning curve on these, I will say. I don't often do cores, and when I do, they're relatively simple, but because of this nasty little twist that this part has on it, it created a few little problems for me, but there you go, they're all done. Well, after looking at the part and considering what I was going to do, I really didn't like it. Didn't look right, so in the end I done another redesign, this time with a two-part mould, both the manifolds attached with a crude runner, and then I set about ramming that up, but that proved to be such an absolute bottom to do. I think I probably done it about 4 times before I managed to pull the pattern out of the sand with any success. If I hadn't have done it then, I think I would have just thrown it away and started again. But anyway, so I've done that, and then I set about casting it. So dropping the cores in, when I say dropping, just very, very carefully placing them in. Quick blow up, and then we'll come to the pour on these ones. I only just managed to keep up with the flow of aluminium, and you can even see a little bit of a dimple where it almost starts to pull it into the sprue, but all in all not too bad a pour. I can see one's failed. The other one looks good. Okay, so the casting all came out really good. Really nice finish on it. Excellent core. Fantastic. Got it sorted at last. However, here's the original. Nice. Lovely. As you can see, when I redesigned this one, what I've done is done the hole diameter, and then I've taken this as the edge of the hole diameter. I haven't actually enlarged to put the extra measurement on for width, so as a consequence this one didn't work, so I had to redesign it again. Well, it wasn't really that much a redesign, it was just
reprofile this end like it should have been, like I've done on some of the others. Just forgot to do it on this one. Lesson learned again. On to the final ones. Here we go.
First of all, apologies for any fan noises that are in the background. You can see the description for why, but you just have to put up with it. Anyway, what's going on in the video? I'm exposing the patterns, and as I'm happy with the areas I've exposed, I'm then just powdering with a bit of parting dust. This just helps if any other sand lands on the area that I've already cleaned up. It's not going to stick to it and easily blows away with an airline. So here I'm just roughing out some of the areas where I'm going to be putting the runners in. Just makes this area level when I'm ramming up the cope. Now I'm just putting down a bit of facing sand, which is just normal casting sand, which I just run through a small sieve. Second grade sieve, and then just jam it in. Sometimes I don't even bother doing that, but in this case I wanted a nice finish. As I'm getting quite competent with ramming these up now, it's quite an easy job just to drop in a pouring basin straight into the top of the cope and form it up. Martin does some very good tutorials on this, old Foundry man. If you want to go and look at him, he's a far better teacher and advocate of this than me. Now, one thing to remember, the dam which goes between the sprue and the pouring basin wants to be between 5 and 10 mil high, and ideally a third the height of the pouring basin itself.
Right.
Here we go, deadlift. These casting boxes were really designed for flat plaques, so they've got really no deep guides, so you have to be quite a bit careful and pull straight up. So here you can see I've cut in the runners and a spin trap. The spin trap's not very clear in this picture though. I'm just blowing it off with an airline before I remove the patterns, then put the cores in.
Right.
Right, getting these patterns out is really awkward, so my apologies if the head gets in the way. I need to see what I'm doing basically, and they really do stick in there, so it's just a case of gently
Well, not too bad.
So I'm just checking my orientation, because I don't want to put the core in back to front. And I'll warn you now, you don't get to see the pour because for some reason I just didn't record it. However, you do get a chance to see me bust it out after the pour. Now it gives you a good chance to see how the enlarged feet at the end of the core, either end, sits in the sand. Does hold it far better. I just have to make sure that when I do it I vent as much as possible round the area of the foot either end. Quick blowout round the cores just to make sure that nothing's falling in. And we're getting near casting time. Quite a few advantages to oil bonded sand. One of the disadvantages of course is smoke. It does tend to smoke and it stinks proper. My workshop is very well ventilated. But there you go, first uncovering. It's the first, always a nail biter when you pull it out, and you can see some of the molten aluminium has actually ventured up the little breather spikes.
Good cast, nice core. You can just see the light shining through that. Everything worked out nice and neat. I had enlarged the numbers down the side to more or less match the original. Overall I was really happy with that comparison. You can see the aluminium ones are just slightly heavier on the wall thickness. Cast iron being a hotter metal to cast, flows easier, and its sheer weight means you can cast thinner items quite happily. So these ones you'd never know by the time they're fitted and painted. You're never going to know the difference.
So I'm going to leave you some pictures of the generator itself. If you've got any questions, please drop them in the comments. When I do get some pictures of the actual manifolds fitted on the replacement engines, I will put them up on my Facebook page, so look me up on Facebook as well. Please subscribe, ring that bell thing, and thanks for your time.